Mr. President, can you clarify the Canada-Mexico tariffs? You had put that 30-day pause, but you just referred to April.
25%.
25%. When does it go into effect?
April 2nd.
April 2nd for Canada-Mexico.
Correct.
And
for everything.
Well, we have the fentanyl-related is a pause. If they can prove to the president they've done an excellent job, that's what they first do in 30 days.
Have you guys seen any
But then the overall is April 2nd. So the big transaction is April 2nd, but the fentanyl-related things, they're working hard on the border. At the end of that 30 days, they have to prove to the president that they've satisfied him to that regard. If they have,
It's going to be hard
he'll give
to
them a pause, or he won't. But
It's going
that's
to be
up
hard
to
to
him. We'll see.
satisfy. We lose 300,000 people a year to fentanyl. Not 100, not 95, not 60 like you read. You know, you've been reading it for years. We lost, in my opinion, over the last couple of years, on average, maybe close to 300,000 people dead. Look, we support Canada. $200 billion a year in subsidies one way or the other. We let them make millions of cars. We let them send us lumber. We don't need their lumber. We're going to free up our lumber. Lee's going to do that, head of environmental. We're going to free up our lumber. We have the best lumber there is. We don't need their lumber. What do we need their lumber for? When you look at we subsidize them $200 billion a year. Without us, Canada can't make it.
April 2nd. Tariffs are back on. I thought we were looking at maybe in March, but hey, April 2nd, so that buys us another month of getting ready for the tariffs. So we may have a little bit of reprieve in the market going into this next month. I thought maybe we were going to be a struggle over this weekend. Could still be a little bit of a struggle, but I think we're not going to really have any big issues until April, when April pops around, and then we can kind of get an idea of where we're heading as far as the team is going with our economy. All right, so keep that in mind. April 2nd. Look for some market movement that may be on market movement that we weren't quite expecting. Might be a little bit choppy beginning of April and into mid-April as things get figured out. All right, so back to this morning. Okay, we got to go. First up, as always, is the S&P. S&P is still chopping around in here. Found some support somewhat in this area here at around 59.38. Pre-market still sitting in that area. So just down in here a little bit below this line, so we know that that's our pretty much our resistance area there. We have a new resistance area somewhat in here. Okay, so be careful of that. If we open up below here, we're probably going to continue to head lower. All right, on the S&P. Okay, next up is the Bitcoin. And Bitcoin put in a little bit of a pause itself right here. At about 84,000. It's putting in a little bit of a pause. Keep an eye on it. Currently it's up about right here. Okay. In the pre-market, Bitcoin doesn't really have a pre-market. I just like to say that because it's still before our market opens. But it's trying to bounce up here. Most likely it's going to come up to this 88, struggle a little bit, and then fall off again. Because I still think it wants to come down here and reconcile this window. Alright, but that remains to be seen. Okay. Next up is oil. And oil put in a little pause as well. So everybody's kind of put the brakes on their selling for a moment. most likely they run the register down in here, and so we got a little bit of a bounce that's going to happen as things settle down when all these pauses come in, and then as we get back up into these more resistance areas, we'll start to see some selling again. Okay, so don't get too excited with these green bars, especially in these down markets. All right, in my opinion, oil is still bearish, and you're gonna sell the you know, they like to say buy the dips, but what do you sell the rise? I don't know. We have to somebody give me a clue what to call that. But anyway, we need to sell that as it gets up back into this as it gets back into these areas. Be careful that that you don't try to go long with it and it sells off on you. All right. Anyway, next up is the E-mini, and you can see it's also doing this little bit of a pause, going to push back up into here and run into some resistance and most likely sell off, or it may continue to go higher. We'll see what happens, but don't get too crazy with it. Our MACD is still showing it as a sell, so we'll see if that changes. It hasn't crossed over yet, so I would just say be careful. It's still in the up market, so it can still reverse, but I think we're going to run into some resistance and sell off because of the president just kind of gave us a good something to feel secure about for the next month. We know there aren't going to be any tariffs until then, at least, but it hasn't changed the prices anywhere. The prices at the pump for me hasn't changed, and the prices at the grocery store hasn't changed. So, and my electricity and PG&E hasn't gone down, so no matter what they're got planned right now, I'm still feeling the pain. All right, and I'm sure a lot of Americans are. All right, next up is Ethereum futures, and of course it's got a pause as well. Excuse me. But we know there's this resistance area here where all this was building up, and then it dropped off, gapped down a little bit. So we may close this gap and then continue to sell off in Ethereum. And it has this overhead window open also, so that could be a factor as well. But we got these trade winds that are stacked together, so that's a lot to get through as well to get higher. So I kind of see us running into here, run into some problems, and then selling off. And then trying to find some footing down in here somewhere. But we have to see what happens with this. It's going to try to probably push up and then suck this down, and then try to push back up through it again. And we'll see what happens at that point. If it's just too strong of a current that continues to force it down. But as these averages start to roll over is when we're going to be more concerned about Ethereum selling off even more. All right, next up is gold, and gold is still continuing its weakness, although it did find a little bit of support down in here. We have to see what happens on this morning when we open up in the market. Currently it looks like it wants to try to push a little higher. It's got a little bit of a support area right in here at the bottom of this one here, so we have to see how we open up and how we what we put into it. Today's bar doesn't take this bar out, then be careful. I think we're going to continue to sell off in gold. I saw something, I hadn't had a chance to look into it. I saw something where it said we don't have any gold or we're missing some gold or something, but I got to see what's going on there. But I haven't had a chance to look into it yet. But it's not funny, but it's just typical of the stuff we deal with in America. All right, next up, natural gas. And natural gas continuing to sell, although I think we agreed already that oil was continuing to sell, although it had a little bit of a pause. Natural gas may get a little bit of pause in this area, but we know this is either going to be a support area or it's going to be a resistance area. Currently, it's looking like it's a resistance area. So if that's the case, if our 20-day doesn't hold us up and give us a little springboard to bounce off of, so 20 needs to come up, this needs to come down, bounce off, and bounce through. If that doesn't work and it just falls through it, then we know we're going to head back down here into $3 on natural gas, which left the window open also. So you know how it is. You can't leave the house with the windows open. You come back and there's nothing there. All right. These days, not like the old days when you can just leave everything unlocked. All right. So we got the NASDAQ, and of course we were already saying that we got a little bit of a bounce coming in. Maybe going to come back up into here and retest this area for resistance. We might get the 2 or 3 bars into here. My only resistance area really I see is not really acting like much resistance at the moment. So I'm thinking maybe the top of this bar where we got a little pause here maybe might be our resistance area. And if that's so, we have to see what happens once we get there. If we get rejected into here somewhere and sell off, then we know we're going to continue to pull back and come down and retest these the trade winds and see if the trade winds hold up. But if we get below this area here before we get to our trade winds, look out. Most likely there's going to be a little battle going on in here, and we're most likely going to lose it. All right. So be careful with that as well. Next up is the silver, and the silver, same thing. It's trying to push a little bit higher, but of course it's running into some trouble in this area here. So for moving averages, get a chance to push us back down, and we get a red coming down here, most likely silver is going to come. And if it breaks this line here, then we're heading back down to $31 on silver. Next up is the Dow, and the Dow is doing the same as the others. Got a little pause right in here. Okay, currently it's set to open up just below this one here, so we're in this little bit of a channel on the Dow, and here it looks tiny, but it's actually, you know, a couple thousand, or at least $300 dollars or more worth of movement. All right. So do the math yourself. I guess it's 2,500 according to this. 43 and 5 and 40. Yeah, about 250 or so. $250 or so movement worth of movement here. So that's still quite a bit. But anyway, look for resistance. So buy low, sell high. All right, so they might be buying it back up just to sell it back off underneath you. Once you get all excited and jump in and try to ride the wave back up. All right, next up Apple. And Apple, look for Apple to try to find some support in this area around 237. Since everybody is on a pause right now, or in our majors, Apple may pause as well. Somewhere down in here, and then maybe try to come back up and retest this up here, but don't get too crazy with this stuff right now, because we know we have some overhead resistance on all of our major indices, stocks. So be careful with that. Don't get too excited if you see green bars, because we don't know how long they're gonna last. Albemarle continues to sell off. Might open up in this area right here, but I would be careful with these. I'm not too keen on the on the lithium type trade. This is more of a mineral material type trade also. So it's not just lithium. There's other stuff that they're looking for, but I think they were mostly, from what I understand, lithium. but they do other stuff too. But at the same time, I think that was going to be the baby. But the Doge Father and the Red Menace have came in and they kind of changed our opinion on that stuff. So we'll see what happens. What's up? Got AMC. Kansas AMC. Nothing Burger is continuing to sell off. Well, it's pushing up nicely here. It might have made a bit nice, exciting for a minute for some people, but I've already written my shares off. Well, when I say written them off, they're just sitting in limbo. I'm not doing anything with them. I don't think that the silverback is going to save the day. I don't even know if silverback's around anywhere. I don't hear nothing from that guy no more. Next up is Amazon. And yeah, trying to put in this little V bottom, but like I said, overall market. So look for some resistance in this area that it's already hit. It got rejected right here. And if we get a little sell-off, we might get a little retest on Friday, but I wouldn't be trying to go too heavy into the weekend with Amazon. I wouldn't go too heavy into the weekend with any of this stuff, to be honest with you. If you're day trading, if you're long-terming, and I probably wouldn't be buying anything right now. I'll probably have a put or something on my long-termers. I'd be sitting on some puts sitting out to about at least May, because you just heard the president. April is when the tariffs will be back on. So if you got to put into May, and you should be kind of safe, because when those tariffs come back in, if the market reacts to it in a negative way, then you'll be, you won't be too far out of the money. You'll have something to hedge your position. And if you don't know anything about options trading, I'm not your guy. I know very little bit about it. So there's some guys that put out some pretty good videos on options trading. You just gotta watch them and watch them and watch them and watch them and figure out what the heck they're talking about, and practice using them. And that's pretty much how I learned how to do options. Next up is Chipotle Mexican Grill. And Chipotle is trying to push back up, but it got rejected up here at this 50% mark. So be careful with that. I got these two little limit. I was messing around with it yesterday on the 2-minute chart. I kept putting this little limit. I kept putting it close to this stock, and when it would come down to it, I would move it, and then it was so. But anyway, I was just being goofy with it. So that's why those are on there. I'm not really thinking about buying any right now. I might get some at a 52.50 because that was a good support area, but most likely I'll buy another share down here at $50.50 if we come back down here again. But yeah, I just keep moving these around. So really, these are nothing. They don't really exist because I'm not really buying anything there. Anyhow, so 50%. If we push up a little bit more through that, I wouldn't get too excited. I'll be looking for that continue to sell out, but I mean, I'm just a little curious as to what's going to happen once the new months start, because I know we're heading into March, and then April, May. So how is the month of March going to react? Is everybody going to be ringing the register heading into April and May because they don't know what to expect from the tariffs? So how is that going to work? So that would be indecision, I guess. What's it? Not decisions, the word I'm looking for. Somebody help me out here. What's the word I'm looking for? But at any rate, it'll be kind of hard to trade or want to be positive or want to add to your trades because you don't know which way the market's going to head based on the the tariffs and how they're going to affect market trading. So, and I think we might have had a little bit of a. I mean, when he first put them on, when he first got into office, what happened? We started selling off, right? So we can kind of expect a little sell off again once the tariffs are on, but we'll have to see what happens with that. All right. Next up is going to be Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab continues to try to push up a little bit higher back up in here, but of course, it's got this overhead resistance at about $24, and it's really struggling to get back past this 75% here at 22.30. So if we can't get enough to get up in here, I wouldn't trust it. I'd be kind of concerned that we maybe just pushing up to sell off again, right, and put in that thunderbolt to the downside. All right, got windows to reconcile down in here, so maybe a good opportunity to get by this little bounce up and then sell off into heading back down in here. All right, that's Rocket Lab. And next up, Tesla. And Tesla's trying to push back up through here to get back up into here. Got this resistance area here, so be careful with Tesla. It's trying to get into a down market. Got our moving averages, our trade winds coming up to act as resistance. Got this window open down here, so there's a lot going against Tesla at the moment. So be careful with it. So right now it's looking kind of weak. It's in an uptrending market, but it's definitely looking like it wants to be in a down market, selling off even more. So that's Tesla. We'll do one more this morning so I can get this out to you. And let's do GameStop. Oh, I'll do two more. We'll do GameStop, which is in the pre-market is bouncing up, coming up to retest against this right here. That's a nice little gap up. So be careful with that. Hopefully before the market opens, it'll come back down in here somewhere and then try to push up through that. But looks like it's trying to find some footing in here and maybe pushing higher, but especially with all the other, the majors finding some footing and trying to push higher. We may get some good push out of GameStop this morning and maybe redeem ourselves a little bit in here. All right, so we got Thursday and Friday, and then Friday, I don't know. Okay, and then my last one is going to be Corsair Gaming. And Corsair Gaming put in this bar yesterday, which was very appealing. And now it's set to open up just a little bit above that. And we're going to see what happens if it's going to try to push up and get through this overhead resistance here. But yeah, that looks like a buy the dip in here. So if it's come back down into here, you might want to start loading up and see if it wants to continue higher. But right now it's in the bullish and heading into and trying to head higher on Corsair Gaming. And I saw another one that I need to talk about too, Centerpoint Energy. So we're still buying the dip on Centerpoint, trying to push up through this 34.44 area. All right, but be careful because we know our energy stocks, our oil and gas is trying to sell off. Although it does have a pause today, everything is on pause right now. So be careful with these. They're just on a pause. They may push a little bit higher, but it's more like a dead cat bounce than it is an actual power move back up to the upside currently. All right. But they may be getting excited because they got another month of free from tariffs. So we'll see what happens as the days move forward. Okay, especially when the new month starts next week. Okay. So that's all I got for now. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and be careful out there. These markets are crazy.